all legit questions, by the way. Ridiculous, I know.
Merry meet, my fellow bookish witches. Welcome to Witchy Reads, a place where we talk about books and other bookish things. Danny over at Danny Dabbles has been hosting Battle of the Booktubers. It is a competition to see who is better at recommending books, and yours truly is one of the participants, along with Beatrice from Beatrice's Book Nook, Laura from Laura's Bookish Life, and Victoria from Victoria Masters. We each recommend 2 books per booktuber, each booktuber being assigned a letter to distinguish them, meaning we won't know who recommended what books until the very end. Exciting, right? For this first vlog, I am starting with the recommendations from booktuber G. The first recommendation is Nightbirds by Kate J. Armstrong. It is about a group of women called the Nightbirds, who are born with a special kind of magic. But since magic is illegal in their world, they are hidden away until they can be married off to continue their magical bloodline. I'm assuming this is meant to be a story about women forging their own path, and I am definitely here for that. I wanted to go with this recommendation first because I'm a little trepidatious on how this is going to go. The synopsis also mentions that it takes place during the Jazz era. I'm not sure if that means that it is the literal time period in which this is taking place, or if it's just the aesthetic of the story. I am excited to see how that world building pays off. I really hope it is done well. The second book recommended by booktuber G is The Isle of the Gods by Amy Kaufman. This also has a magical storyline. I'm sensing a theme here for the books recommended to me, and I'm not even mad about it. This one seems to be a road trip type story, with the woman main character taking to the high seas in pursuit of her father, only to get waylaid by a magician who needs to get to the Isle of the Gods for a specific ritual, I guess. There seems to be a hint of a romance. One thing I love is adventure stories with romance. I am a little more excited for this one, I think. I did just get Nightbirds through my Libby app, so I'm going to get to reading that.
I am reading the Kindle version of this book. It is a fantasy, so I'm gonna apologize right out the gate. I might be mispronouncing these characters' names. Where are we in this book? We have 3 young women who are born with magical abilities because of their bloodline. Mathilde, Sayer, and Aisha. Mathilde is the most veteran. She has been a Nightbird the longest. She, I would say, is the most privileged one. She gets called out on that privilege a lot. Then we have Sayer, the daughter of a previous Nightbird who was ousted because she got pregnant. Technically, her father is a highborn lord. They were not married. Her mother had to escape with her. Because she has inherited her mother's power, she has been asked to come back to be a Nightbird. Aisha, from what I understand, isn't from a highborn house. It's really rare to find girls outside of the houses. She happens to be one of them, and they basically brought her in because they needed another Nightbird. The opening scene for this book was probably my favorite part thus far. It did a great job of introducing the characters, introducing the transaction that happens between the Nightbirds and their patrons, I guess. They each have different magical abilities, which I was actually really shocked to find that out. And I like that. Each of their abilities is different from the other. The problem that you encounter very quickly with this book is that additional rules are added, and that kind of muddies the water as far as the magic system. It immediately puts me on edge. If you have a magic system, that magic system needs to be tight. You can't break those rules. Mathilde is what they call the goldfish. Finch. Her ability is basically shape-shifting. Whoever she gives her powers to has the ability to change into whomever they would like. Then we have Sayer. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the bird that she is. I have no idea what bird this is. Her power is the ability to essentially camouflage into the environment around her on the periphery. You can almost sense that the person is there, but you can't see them, if that makes sense. And then we have Aisha. She is the youngest of the three, also the most naive. I also think she has the coolest power. She is the Nightingale. Her ability is to basically manipulate emotions, Jedi mind powers. That is her ability. The rules set up for this magic system are that they cannot give the power to each other. They cannot use the power that they have, and the way the power is transferred is through kissing. Even though they can transfer their powers through kisses, ultimately they decide if they want to give that power through a kiss. Just because they kiss someone doesn't mean that they're going to get that power. This book has never set up a situation where them kissing someone hasn't resulted in them giving power. I almost wish that there had been a situation like that where it showed resilience on the girl's part to say no. I think what this book is lacking as far as the women characters is definitely their strength and their ability to stand up for themselves. It's not ringing true. We have people coming from these highborn houses, the 1% in this world. They are paying hefty amounts of money to come and see the Nightbirds and get their power. The first feeling I got was the similarities between what they were doing and something akin to a brothel. The book tries to be a little self-aware and brings up that comparison a couple of times, which is fine. The only thing that started becoming uncomfortable with that narrative is that the women are called whores a number of times. Why? Why do we need to call these women that? I kind of ignored it because I was hoping to have it not be a problem. The description and the way it's marketed is marketed that it is a feminist book. In my experience, when a book is marketed saying that it is feminist, it makes me weary, because why do you think it's feminist? What makes a strong female character? I would argue that it takes a lot more to be a strong female character than to simply claim that you're strong and try to go against the grain, which these women obviously are. To me, what makes a strong female character and what I enjoy in strong female characters is when women band together. I feel like that is where this book is failing me. We were going to have this ensemble cast of females. I wanted them to band together and join together. Where I'm at in the book, that seems to be what they are doing now, but it took me 50% of the way to get to that point. This is a YA fantasy. I understand that we're trying to set up these characters, set up this world. There was a lot of info dumping. Up until this point, it was a lot of cattiness, a lot of bickering between the Nightbirds. Why couldn't we have all agreed to just band together and go investigate together? It rubbed me the wrong way that it took so long for the girls to kind of get on the same page. In this world, magic is illegal. You wouldn't know that because we have been shrouded in this high society, privileged area. Everyone uses magic. We are told multiple times that magic is illegal, and I would have preferred to have seen it. There are gangs in the book. There is crime in the book, like in the lower districts it's mentioned. We don't see that. It would have made the story more clear as far as what we were dealing with had we seen a situation where we see the lower class using magic or trying to use magic and getting caught by the church, getting caught by the government. We do not see that at all. I don't think we're going to at this point. Not only is magic illegal, but oh my gosh, it's doubly bad if women have magic. How dare women have magic? On the other end of that, we also have goings on in the government. The current leader, who is female, Woot, her father was the ruler and he had just passed away. She has taken his seat, but she still needs to be elected, chosen for this role. The elections are coming up and she is staunchly opposed to magic. She also needs the support of the great houses, and of course the great houses, because they hide the Nightbirds, they don't want any more laws that restrict magic use. To prevent their influence within the vote, she wants to simply just kidnap the Nightbirds. They are pieces on a chessboard, and she wants to remove them from the board so that the great houses can't use them against her. Government espionage going on. We have the church shenanigans going on. They have been chased by these religious zealots to basically hide underground. They've now realized that there are many other women who also have magical powers. They just, weren't born to the great houses, so they didn't have the protection of the great houses. There's a little bitterness there. That's fair. The Nightbirds have been able to live in the light of day with the protection of money. That resentment got resolved rather quickly, I would say. The biggest plot issue I have with this book is that the Nightbirds are meant to be a secret. No one knows their exact identities, yet they are also then told that they have to flaunt their wares, flaunt their magic, in order to be eligible for a High Lord to marry them. The way this is written is very confusing. Nowhere in the text does it ever mention that any of these men, even if they get married, will find out that these women are Nightbirds. Nowhere. How does that work if they don't know who you are? Make it make sense. Maybe I'm misreading it, but how I'm interpreting this is their identities are secret. No one knows who they are except for their mothers. You need to show off your magic so that you are eligible to men to marry so that they come and marry you. This entire system is very messed up and gross. I am not a fan. As they progressed in the story, other rules got added to the magic system, and one of the big ones is that the girls can't use the magic themselves. Well, then that shifts, and it's like, oh wait, but yes, now you can. This was something that was going to happen. It was going to be a twist. They still can't share it with each other, but they can use it on themselves. I actually like that they were able to use their magic because we actually got to see the magic in action. It would have been really sad if the situation was that they just had to keep kissing people for them to be able to use the magic. Sayre, she's a little bitter. She's the one who keeps putting Mathilde in her place as far as her privilege. Of the three, Sayre, I relate to a little bit more, and I like her a little bit more. I do think she has a little too much bitterness, and it clouds her judgment. She's also the Sapphic in the story, which I really appreciate. Aisha is very much the innocent one. She doesn't know what she's doing. She almost feels guilty for her magic use. I would forgive a lot of things in this book if there is a twist where Aisha betrays them. I don't think that's going to happen. A girl can dream. I don't want to discount the book, but I also don't want to give the book too much credit at this point. No one knows how this magic works. No one is there to guide them, even though there are older people who are Nightbirds, their grandmothers, their mothers. No one knows the parameters or the rules, and I'm just like, this has been going on for generations. Why does no one know what's going on? How does no one know how to control this? This doesn't make any sense, and this doesn't help the girls in terms of controlling their magic. Someone help them. Does every woman need to have a love interest? Does every woman need to have it be like super complicated? The rating could still go either way, but it's very treading downward right now for me. A lot of character development needs to happen. A lot of plot development needs to happen for it to be on an upward trajectory for me. I do hope it gets better. I finished Nightbirds. TLDR, it didn't do what I needed it to do to make the experience super enjoyable for me. I thought the women had come together and fight against the church / the government. That does not happen. They just kind of decide to stay in this underground secret area that they've been in. The three Nightbirds have decided to just chill there and work on their magic, a training montage. We don't really get to see any of that. We are just told that that's what's been happening. Aisha is still grappling with her having this power and whether or not that makes her quote unquote a good person. The Firebirds of old, which is what the Nightbirds used to be, were these specific women that when they were in contact with each other could amplify their power. That has been happening throughout the story. It's made very clear that's who they're meant to be. They learn while here that there should be 4 Firebirds. While I was recording and I was kind of rehashing the story, I had an epiphany. I realized Finn is one of the Nightbirds because there was that moment where Sayre tried to kiss her to give her her power and she wasn't able to do that. And the only reason then that wouldn't have worked with Finn is if she herself was a Nightbird. When they mentioned that there is a 4th one, I was like, oh, it's Finn. That was a nice twist in a way. The zealots find their hiding spot and they blow up the walls, and since it's underground below sea level, the water crashes in. All four of them band together to stop this wave of water, or at least holding it off long enough so people can escape. Some of the younger women have stuck around to defend the Nightbirds while they are handling this wave of water. Three of the zealots show up. One of them ends up shooting these young women like straight in the chest with a bow and arrow. Aisha has like just this moment of pure hatred for this person for killing this young lady, and she straight up murders him, picks him up with the wave by his throat and just like tosses him into the water that she's holding at bay. She just watches him die. As his body floats away is when she again has like this crisis within herself and is like, what have I done? I am a poison. You are more upset about the fact that you avenged a fellow woman who was murdered in cold blood for simply existing, and you are having a crisis because he is dead. There is no mention about her having a crisis that this young woman who essentially stepped in the line of fire for her died. Nothing. This happens continuously. They managed to escape. The zealots did this for a purpose to kind of draw them out so that they could arrest them. The only people who are known to the zealots as far as the Nightbirds are Aisha and Mathilde. Those two get arrested. Mathilde getting taken to the royal family's house. I'm not going to pronounce the name of what they call the royalty. I cannot pronounce it to save my life. Aisha gets sent to the church. Of the two, I would rather get sent to the royal family and the church. I knew straight away, especially with the storyline that they had for Aisha, she was either going to buckle under the pressure or she was going to get tortured to death. They are still being catty with each other, still keeping secrets, still not working as a unit. It very much feels like Mean Girl situation, women hating women. And I don't like that. You're making the stereotype that this is how women are with each other, that we will be catty to each other until the bitter end. Women aren't like that. And I feel sorry for the author if this is how she truly feels women are, because yikes. I was hoping that this was going to be more women uplifting women story. It's so disappointing when it's not. We then encounter Mathilde, who has been taken by the royal family. I had guessed, or I had hoped that the kind of big twist was going to be that she had been helping the bastard prince overthrow his sister because he wanted to become the leader of their country. I was really hoping for the women uplifting women, he would turn out to be the bad guy, that the sister was actually okay and not the bad person, because up to this point we haven't met her. But then we meet her and she's just as catty as the other women. She has this whole spiel about, I have worked hard to get where I am and they want to take it from me because I am a woman. If I was a man, this wouldn't even be a thing that is happening, and I need your help to ensure that I continue to get to be the leader, that a woman gets to be in charge. Now, the way she does it is very aggressive, and I can kind of see why Mathilde is hesitant. She's never been friends with this person. She's been friends with her brother. I kind of get that aspect of it. Removing her attitude from how she was asking for help, just simply being the situation as is, I don't see why Mathilde wouldn't want to help her. Under her rule, magic has been outlawed. She makes a point of saying, hey, government moves slow. I will work on fixing the laws that will ensure that magic users can step out into the light. It's just going to take time. You need to give me time. Mathilde isn't like on board with that, even though what she is saying is factual. If we are basing this in political reality, that is the truth. She's not sure where her loyalties lie, because she also is told by the sister that the brother has been scheming against her, which is what I thought. Then we encounter him and he's like, no, she is lying to you. You can trust me. You need to help me. He basically gives her the same spiel. I am going to help you step into the light. I am going to change the laws for magic users. This is why I want to be ruler, blah, blah, blah. The difference is that she has a history with him. Also that he asked without an attitude, I suppose. That bothered me. If you're breaking it down to the difference of what these characters are asking, one is a woman, one is a man. I'm sorry, the sister made sense in what she was saying, is that I have to work twice as hard because I'm a woman, and they are trying to take this from me. The brother literally is like, I know I can get the votes. I know I can do it. The audacity of this man. The only good man was the himbo Willen, who is the love interest for Aisha. He was the only halfway decent man. She agrees to help the brother, which is frustrating. The book tries to be self-aware, where she's having these moments of doubt, where she is reflecting on what the sister said. Women work twice as hard to get where they need to be, yet she still goes along with it. And because she goes along with the brother, he ends up murdering his sister. I wasn't on board with this. It causes this upheaval. Sayer has basically infiltrated the palace because they are having another masquerade ball, because why not? A reason to have Sayer in the palace to save Mathilde. It kind of backfires. She ends up encountering her father, whom she does not have a relationship with. He tries to straight up murder her because he is ashamed that he has a daughter that is essentially a witch. She manages to escape. Finn and Alec, who is the alchemist's apprentice, are on their way to save her. I did like this scene. She's like, I'm not leaving without these other girls. And I was like, yes, finally, this character is actually doing something. They are able to break the locks and get everybody out. There's this wild carriage chase, this whole escape plot. This was fun. I had fun with this scene. They managed to get to a ship. They are meant to smuggle the women out of the city, but they are split up. The only one who manages to get on the ship is Aisha. Her story ends with them arriving in her hometown with this ship full of women. Mathilde agrees to stick around with him to kind of be an advisor for him, but also to watch him and make sure he sticks to his word in helping magic users. Yeah, she's working for probably a corrupt government, probably a corrupt guy. She has a more likelihood of ensuring things are going to change by being so close to him. It's a smart move from her, and I appreciated that. Then we have Sayer and Finn, who have romantic issues with each other. Finn goes back to running her gang. She feels it's her job to prevent the gangs from getting involved. For lack of a better description, trafficking these women who have magic, which is disgusting to even think about. Sayer, she wants to go get revenge on her biological father. When she arrives at the house, she discovers that his other daughter also has magical abilities. It's a sweet moment where she reveals herself to essentially what is her half-sister, encourages her, hey, keep going, don't share it with your father, and yada yada. And then she leaves. The idea behind this story is interesting. I think the setup is interesting. The execution was extremely poorly done. There needed to be more character development. It wasn't what I wanted from this book. The second book choice from Booktuber G is Isle of the Gods by Amy Kaufman. I'm a little bit more excited for this one. I think I'm going to enjoy this one a little bit more based on the description. What I am hoping from this book is some really decent, not necessarily world building, but lore building. If you're working with gods, I want some really good lore surrounding those gods. I want to know the faith system, like all of that. I need those details. I desperately need a strong woman main character. I need it like in the vein, shoot it in the vein. I need a strong woman main character. I have already started it. So far, I think I am enjoying it more. We'll have to see on the next update. It is a few days later. I am exactly at 50% of the way through Isle of the Gods. The book starts out with a prologue, and I know a lot of people don't like prologues. They don't bother me too much. The way this was done was smart. We get the backstory of this sacrifice that needs to happen with the gods, this royal family who's been entrusted with performing this sacrifice. Every 25 years, the royal family needs to make this pilgrimage to the Isle of the Gods. The current prince has not done so. He is a year late, and so war is starting to brew between these different continents. Each of these continents worship a different god. The continent Messene, I believe is what it's called, their god has been trapped by this other goddess. It is the royal family who worships this goddess to ensure she is strong enough to keep her brother trapped, to ensure that war does not happen. We get to meet the woman main character, Selly. I adore her. Everything about what a strong woman main character should be, I believe this character portrays excellent. She is strong, she is outspoken, she is very much self-centered. She has ways that she likes to do things. That's not always correct. She has this voice. She is able to stand up for herself, but she is flawed. She is human, and that is the key. Her father, he is a merchant. He owns a bunch of ships. And this particular person, Ransa, I believe is her name, Ransa, she is the captain of this particular ship. Sully has been left under her tutelage to learn how to be a first mate, so that when her father returns, she is ready to take that place amongst his fleet. They are in port. Her father was supposed to return from the north, and he has not. She decides that she is gonna hop onto a ship to ensure that she can meet up with her father. The problem with this is that when she tries to get on the ship, there is the royal fleet waiting to go and take the prince for his pilgrimage, for his sacrifice. The dock is covered with Queen's guards. She is unable to get to the ship. In the kerfuffle of all of this, she ends up meeting Leander. He was very arrogant. He was very flirty, very charming. She is immediately annoyed by him, which I thought was hilarious. It's pretty clear that he is the prince. She is bad-mouthing the prince, complaining about all the things that he has done wrong. He's just letting her air her grievances while also thinking that she is very cute and kind of refreshing. She's the first person who isn't sucking up to him, even though she doesn't really know who he is at this point. The royal fleet is actually meant to be a diversion. The prince has paid Rinsa to sneakily take him on his pilgrimage to the sacrifice. This is just an extra precaution. No one really thinks that this is really necessary. We get a little sneak peek of all of the crew of the ship, which was very nice. I liked all the characters that are a part of this crew. We also get some nice interactions between Sully and Leander. The way their budding romance is written, I fell immediately. I love it. The second day on the ship, they notice there is smoke on the horizon. From the crow's nest, they are able to see that it is the royal fleet and they have been attacked. Prior to all of this, we get some chapters from the point of view of the Mysians, who is the country that wants to start the war. There is essentially a gang that wants to facilitate this war. There are two sisters. One runs the gang and the other wants to prove herself. She discovered that one of her associates went to school with the prince. They are going to take a ship. He is going to confirm that the prince is on the royal fleet and they are going to kill everyone. Back to the Lisbetta with Sully and Leander, we see that attack. They make it very clear in the book that from what they have seen, no one would survive that attack. Leander is having to grapple with that. Those were his friends. He invited them on this excursion because he truly did not believe there was anything dangerous that could potentially happen. Yes, he likes to goof off. Yes, he's an unserious person. Truly, he does care about the people in his life. This was such a devastating blow to him. In this world, there are magicians, and each magician is powered by the different elements. What is special about Leander is that he is the royal magician. He is the most powerful magician in that he can control all of the elements. Very Avatar-esque. You have Sully, who has magician's marks. Her marks signify that she was never trained. She is ashamed by this, and so she wears gloves. Leander and the other magician aboard the ship use their powers to try and outrun the steamships of the Mysians, but it is impossible. They easily overpower them. Instead of just sinking the ship straight away, they get on the ship because they are not 100% sure that the prince died in the royal fleet because they weren't able to confirm that he was there. They come on the ship, they ask, "What are you hiding? Why would you run?" The crew hides Leander. Sully is with him. It's at this point that the other character that's on the ship, who is this scholar character who also is a classmate of the prince's, steps forward because he is of nobility, says, oh, they were trying to hide me. I'm trying to escape to this bibliothèque to start my courses there, and I didn't want anybody to know. He was hoping that that would save the crew. Unfortunately, all it does is that he gets tossed overboard. The rest of the crew gets unalived one by one, and it is brutal. It was a hard thing to read.
because you don't expect it. You don't know them as deeply as, say, Sully and Leander, but you know them well enough that this is definitely an emotional impact for you, and it was for me reading it for sure. Everyone is dead. Sully and Leander have managed to take the little shore boat. The scholar, who his name is Keegan, he survived being tossed overboard. Now it's the three of them on this little boat. Gotta say, right now, what I am really digging is the emotional punches. It has me excited for the conclusion of this book. I like the world building as far as the gods. It's very interesting politically. You understand where the Messenes are coming from. You also are getting this sense of they understand that in doing this, it very likely will cause a war. They do not care. I am really enjoying the romance elements between Sully and Leander. It is very subtle and very well done. There are moments where he says something and she realizes, oh, he pays attention to me. And then it's a moment where he realizes, like, oh, I just gave the game away because I let her know that I pay attention to her. I think their relationship is going to be one of the highlights of the book, which normally I don't find the romance the highlight of the book, but theirs is definitely setting me up for something great. It is taking me a little longer to read this book, not so much because I'm not enjoying it. I'm actually breezing through it when I find the time to read it. It's just, I've got a lot going on in my life, and actually right now I'm recording ahead and it's really, really late at night. I am very excited about where this book is going. I'm gonna get to finishing reading the rest of it. I have finished The Isle of the Gods. Whew. If I could describe what it did to me, I was so stressed. Where we left off, Sully and Leander, Keegan, they had survived the attack on the Lisbetta. Now they're basically on the run. They are on this smaller shore boat. It's not really designed to handle sea travel for very long. They know that they have to get to land to get provisions, regroup, and then make their way to the Isle of the Gods. Even though the prince is now saying he wants to get back to Alinor, which is his country, things are all messed up now. Sully, who is the sailor, explains to them, our best bet to get to land is to go to the country that just attacked us. That is our only option, because there is no other land between us and anywhere else for us to stop and get provisions. We won't survive. They've realized that it wasn't the government of that country that attacked them. It was the zealots who want the war to escalate. They decide, while it is a risk, it is not like the country attacked them, and so they can sneak into this country, get what they need, potentially even go to the embassy, the ambassador there for Alinor, for their country, and have the ambassador help Leander get out of there. They make it there, everything seems fine. We are also getting the POV of the bad guys that just attacked them, and that is Leskia and Jude. Jude is a little complicated. He has a history with Leander. It's very petty. They went to the same prep school together. Jude is the product of an affair. His father is a lord. His mother, she wasn't his wife. So when he passed away, Jude was like ousted from the prep school. He believed that Leander, who was his best friend, didn't even try to help him. We know from following Leander that that is not the truth. Jude is helping Leskia specifically because, one, he thinks Leander betrayed him. Two, and the bigger reason, is that his mother is dying and Leskia and her sister Ruby are paying for the doctors. He knows that if he were to betray them, they would most likely kill his mother and definitely kill him. His loyalty is shaky at best. We're also following Leskia. You dislike her because she is clearly evil. Like, she is doing evil things. She's murdered a lot of people. She destroyed the decoy fleet. She attacked the Lisbetta, killed all of the crew. When they return to their country, she doesn't want to have witnesses to what just occurred, so she kills off all of the sailors that were on their ship as well. I like her, but I hate her. I understand her, but as a character, you have to hate her because she's doing horrible things. I'm already stressed about the fact that Sully and Leander and Keegan have to go to this enemy country. On top of that, you're watching Leskia. When she gets back, someone else takes credit for that attack that she planned, that she executed. This other person took credit. She's called a Green Sister. Ruby just kind of accepted that. Here's the thing, even though we're not in Ruby's head, there's no way that Ruby doesn't know the impact that Laskia has done, like what she's done. Maybe coming out of a misplaced wanting of protecting her younger sister, she basically dismisses her feelings, does not have any type of conversation with her about what happened. This makes Laskia snap. And the second that Ruby dismissed her, I was like, oh, she is about to go nuclear and that's not good. I was so correct. Sully, Leander, and Keegan, they are trying to get to the ambassador. Keegan also went to school with Leander. Leander didn't necessarily bully Keegan, but he very much had the power to stop the bullies and just actively chose not to. They are building this connection with each other again and talking to each other. The communication between these characters is so good. I love that they are communicating and talking through their issues, why they feel the way they feel. Keegan and Leander get on solid ground. It's great. I love it. It's so cute. We also see Leander's relationship with Sully blossom and grow. Their romance is very much a slow burn. I am here for it. I think it is adorable. I love both of these characters and I just want them to be happy together. There is so much hand holding and it is so stinking cute. I was so excited every time they held hands. Sully manages to get to the ambassador, explain what's happening. Laskia has a mole within the embassy. The mole is the assistant to the ambassador, which is like the worst possible person to be the mole. The ambassador confirms that Leander is here and she's like, cool, I'm gonna bring the car around. We're gonna get you out of here. The second she does that, the car explodes. Firebomb explodes. She is gone. The ambassador is dead. Stressed. Leander, Sully, and Keegan are barely a step ahead of Laskia and Jude. Oh my gosh, it's so stressful. They then have to escape again and like with even less than what they had before. Keegan had a gold necklace that he was planning on using to sell to get to the bibliothèque. They managed to sell that to get tickets on a train to get to a smaller port. Their reasoning is the likelihood that they think that they will have left on the train is small. If anything, they would think that they would get on a boat because they know that Leander needs to get to the Isle of the Gods, and to get there he needs a boat. Well, they'll assume we got on a boat, so they won't be checking the train. I think this is smart. We're gonna get on this train, we're gonna go to a smaller port in this country, buy a boat there, and then head to the Isle of the Gods. They need to get to this island. The sacrifice needs to happen because boiling points are going to be like high, sky high. There is a subplot of him trying to teach Sully magic. How the magic system works in this is very simple, but I think it's very well done. Deep down, it's meant to be, well, she's going to need magic at some point. They're setting it up where her magic specifically is going to do something down the line. They are now at this smaller port. Sully is buying the boat. Leander and Keegan are buying provision. They see the last train arrive and they see Laskia, Jude, and her magician get off the train. Here is where the first big plot problem that I saw comes into play. There is no explanation as to why Laskia knew that they had gotten on the train. I was fine with them just kind of appearing because I was like, okay, cool, maybe we'll get a POV from them in the next couple chapter or so that explains how she knew that they had gotten on the train. That never happens. There is no explanation as to why Laskia would have known that they had taken the train versus getting on a boat. It could be assumed that someone told her, like they were seen. But that's never explained. They get on their boat, little fishing boat that they purchased. They're like racing to the islands. They need to get to the islands before Laskia and Jude catch up to them. Laskia hires another fishing vessel to chase them down. Jude asks her like, well, what are we gonna do if they make it to the island before we catch them? She says, don't worry about it. I took care of that before we left the previous city. I was like, what could you have done? That doesn't make any sense because here's the thing, and I don't know if I mentioned this in my first update. The royal family, specifically Leander, is the only person who has the coordinates to the Isle of the Gods. No one else knows where it's located. The royal family needs to know where it is because they do this sacrifice every 25 years. That makes sense, and it's a hard rule that is set by the book that this is a thing. It's been mentioned multiple times. They literally had to buy navigational instruments because he lost the navigation charts when the Lisbetta was burnt down. They have to take the information that is in his journal that has been passed down from his family and figure out the coordinates again. They'd have like this whole conversation about it. It was a huge, and I mean huge, plot hole for me. When they arrive at the Isle of the Gods, a team that Laskia hired is already there. Not only have they beaten them there, but they've made it up to the temple and have destroyed it. The goddess was just not having it, and so these people have been killed by whatever forces are on this island. As tight-knit as this book is written, and it's written so well, this plot hole threw me for a loop. It literally irked me for the rest of the book. That doesn't make sense. I literally had to stop and consider, did I miss something? I don't think so, because I was very invested in this story. I was super invested, so much so that I can't imagine that a detail such as someone else having the coordinates to the island would have slipped past me. How the island is set up is that there's the mother and then there's her children. The god that this other country worships, he has an island there. It could be assumed that they have coordinates to get to his island, or someone does in their country, and that is how she knew to get there. But I don't remember any explanation of her getting that information anywhere. Is it likely I missed something? Maybe. I do not think so. I do not think I missed any information, especially something that huge. They make it to the island. They are running up to the temple. The temple has been destroyed. Leander is in a state because he doesn't know what to do. Keegan, he's like, well, I've spent time reading your journal. It is stated in there, while each child has an island with their own temple, the mother island also has shrines dedicated to her children. Maybe you can make your sacrifice at the shrine for the goddess on the mother island. And they're like, yes, let's do that. The entire time we have Laskia, Jude, and her muscle guy following them. They're right on their tail. This is a minor thing that I didn't like, was that they have this magician, and it's made very clear that the magicians are powerful, and this guy is pretty powerful. For some reason, in this like final climactic situation, he has a gun and he's not using his magic. I thought that was a choice. We have been sticking with the offensive weapons have been the magic. I would have liked to have seen it kept that way. This is a personal thing. They make it to the mother island. Leander realizes that simply giving his blood, which is what the usual sacrifice is probably not going to be enough. I had a feeling that this was what was going to happen, especially they've set it up where he is feeling guilty. He wants to make amends for, the lives that have already been lost, the lives that are potentially going to be lost. He feels this immense guilt for his role in all of this. In addition to that, they have established very much his and Sully's relationship. Clearly, right now, things are in turmoil. Once things are settled, he wants to figure something out because he wants to be with her. Because of all of this, I had a heart-sinking feeling that he was going to have to sacrifice himself. And he has to. I felt every bit of the pain Sully feels when he does it. It's a very quick decision. It's not prolonged. There's not some dramatic goodbye to her. He just kind of decides and he just does it. They didn't have time. They didn't have time to draw it out because Laskia was right on their tail. He realizes what has to be done and he does it. It was heartbreaking. This book had me feeling such a way. I was stressed. I was excited by the romance. My entire body, I felt like I was vibrating for like the last day, like while I was trying to get through this. I stayed up so late the other night finishing this because I wanted to finish this. I was so invested in what was happening in this story. I guess Laskia in her mind feels like the only way to counteract what Leander did is to sacrifice herself as well to her god. She does, which is interesting. A choice. I'm not gonna sit here and say I was sad about her sacrifice. They make it clear that at this point in the story, she is unhinged. Unhinged psycho. We love her for it. So at this point, Sully working with Leander, she has come into her magic. They make a big deal of her tattoos do not look like any other air magician. Leander gets up and he is glowing. He is just like electrified. He's got a lot of magic going on. What they realize, or I think what Sully realizes in herself, is that she's kind of his conduit and is able to have him give her the excessive amounts of magic that he is having. That allows him to survive. Something has shifted. Something is different. Leander is not the same. The only thing he is registering is that Sully helped him in this moment, and so now he wants to stick by her side. Sully, Leander, and Keegan escape the island. They try to convince Jude to come with them. The problem is that Ruby, Leskia's sister, still has control of his mother, his dying mother, and so he can't leave Laskia yet. He has to bring back her body to ensure that his mother will be safe. Jude is not my favorite character. While I empathize and I understand why he is hesitant to do certain things because of his mother, maybe this is just the coldness in me. I don't know, especially since he also found out his mother lied to him about Leander trying to find him and help them. I would just be bitter about it. Granted, the book doesn't really do a good job of contextualizing what their relationship was prior to her being on her deathbed. Based solely on what I know about their relationship, I wouldn't begrudge him if he just ultimately decided, I'm gonna go with Leander, deal with the repercussions of that later, whatever they may be. It's supposed to endear us to him a little bit, but quite honestly, like, I just found him kind of annoying. He didn't fulfill what I wanted him to fulfill as far as a character goes. The book ends with Sully, Leander, and Keegan arriving back in Eleanor. They are greeted with a crowd on the docks, basically. That's where we end. I know that there is a second book. I looked and it's not published yet. This book had me in such a state that I'm mad that I have to wait months for the second book. It's distressing. I'll cope. It's fine. Honestly, it's probably good that it's gonna be a few months before this next book comes out because I have so many other books that I need to read. I truly adored this book. It was incredible. This was a solid choice, I have to say. I was stressed the entire time, but in the best possible way. I had a hard time putting this book down. It was irritating that I had other life obligations because I wanted to just sit and consume this book. I just want to say thank you, Booktuber G. This was a solid choice.
With that, we have come to the end of my first Battle of the Booktubers vlog. I apologize if it ends up being super chaotic. This is my first ever reading vlog, and I expect it's going to take some time to smooth out the rougher edges. I definitely experienced a spectrum of emotions in reading both of these recommendations. Recommendation number 1 was Nightbirds by Kate J. Armstrong, and I am giving it a final rating of 1.5 stars. I think the premise was there. I think the setup for the characters was a strong one. I just don't think it was executed well at all. A lot more could have been done with the world building. I do not think the jazz era aesthetic really served any purpose, which was a real shame. The biggest flaw for me, though, was the character interactions and lack of character development across the board. Such wasted opportunity. I can definitely see on paper why Booktuber G suggested it for me in the first place. Recommendation number 2, The Isle of the Gods by Amy Kaufman. I ended up giving this book 4.75 stars. I enjoyed this book so freaking much. It is amazing. The problem lies in that the plot hole in this book is pretty huge. It is possible I may have missed something, but with how invested I was in the story, I doubt it. Even with that plot hole, I can't deny that I absolutely adore this book. I am confidently giving this book the label of an all-time favorite for me. The characters, the suspense, the action, the romance, it was everything I could have ever wanted out of a book, and I am so excited to read the next book in the series. I guess all that's left is to take a guess as to who Booktuber G is. By a process of elimination and based on the minimal information I have about each booktuber, I'm going to guess that Booktuber G is Laura. I've literally narrowed it down to a 50-50 shot, so either I'm right on the mark or I have missed it completely. I would love to hear from others who have read these books, especially those who have read The Isle of the Gods. Were you as stressed as I was? Let me know down in the comments below. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you can follow along with the Battle of the Booktubers competition and get notified for my other videos. Until our next chapter together, merry part and blessed be.